But he stood by. Hey, there's an image now burned into your mind. When you feel like you're in a situation where God may be calling you to stand by, what does that mean? Do you stand on the end? Do you try to get into the water? I don't know what degree that God calls you to move. That's between you and God. But all I know is that we're called to help other people who are pressing on the journey, because sometimes that's how God works through us to reach others. So as we see other people who are in the marathon of life, the race of life, let's reach out to them. How do we feel that God may be calling us to do that, so that we can impact and change their situation? Last thing, and I'm done. Let's go back to verse 15. Let those of us who are mature be of the same mind, and if you think differently about anything, this too God will reveal to you. It's a word about maturity. And you see this part starting with the chrysalis all the way through to the empty shell here. Maturity is a process. And so God, help us to be mature in our process that we have of continuing to become your people. God, if I've been a Christian for 30 years, prayerfully I'm at a different level of depth in my relationship with you at my 30th year than I was at my 20th year, or my 10th year, or my 5th year, or my 1st year. Nehemiah is one of my favorite biblical characters, and Nehemiah was a part, last week we talked about how the Israelites were in exile in Babylon for 70 years. And towards the end of that time, Nehemiah had a call placed on his life by God to be one who rebuilt the wall. And he was a cupbearer for the king. He went from being a cupbearer to a king to rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem so that the people might return home. They might return home to their place. They might return home to their homeland. They might return home to their culture. They might return home to the place that they called home, because they weren't at home. So Nehemiah had one thing he wanted to get done. He wanted to build that wall. But as Nehemiah went about doing that work, he had 3 people. One was named Sanballat, one was named Tobiah, and one was named Geshem. And there were these 3 guys. And as Nehemiah was trying to lead this process of the wall being rebuilt so that the people could come home to what really was their home, they were just in his ear. Nehemiah, why are you doing that? That doesn't make any sense, Nehemiah. You shouldn't even take the time to do that, Nehemiah. You shouldn't even be worrying about that, Nehemiah. Why are you doing that, Nehemiah? What? I know God called you, but is that what God really said to you, Nehemiah? Do you really understand, Nehemiah? What? Have you ever been trying to do something in your life and you have Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem in your ear? You're trying to get it done, but you've got some people talking in your ear, and you're like, would you please turn the noise off? I'm trying to do what God has called me to do. I want to encourage you to listen to them, but don't hear them. Listen to them, but you don't have any choice to listen to them. They're right here in your ear, but you don't necessarily have to hear them. You have to take it into your heart. You may hear it and cognitively understand it in your brain, but don't let it get down to the resources of your heart. Keep your heart pure so that you might do the thing that God is calling you to do. But don't lose yourself in the midst of all that negative talk, because that negative talk is going to be there, and you can't do anything to really get around it. But by following the example of Nehemiah, it took 52 days to rebuild the wall, but you know what? He got it done. And the whole time that he was trying to build it, day 5, day 20, day 40, day 50, he's still up trying to get this wall rebuilt, and Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem are in his ear trying to get him off of his mission and message. As we become mature, Nehemiah was mature. God, help us to be mature in this ministry that you call us to do together. If we're mature in our ministry, we know that our ministry is about our mission. And here is uniquely about our mission field. How do we get more people to come in from out there and out there and out there and out there into here so that we might help them grow in a deeper relationship with God? How do we help people over there and out there and out there and over here and even in here to understand what it means to pray until something happens. To not give up, but to get up. To keep pushing. To keep praying. To do what Jesus did. To submit ourselves. To submit ourselves to the mission. That's the call I believe that we have. That's the call I believe we have as a church. That's the call I believe we have as men, women, boys, and girls who are growing up and calling ourselves people of faith. That's what I believe we're called to do. And that's what I challenge myself to do as I challenge you. This is not, this is not a do as I say and not, we need to all be doing this together to the honor and the glory of God. So remember the call to be a bridge, to help someone establish that relationship with God. Remember the call to take the bridge. Don't be afraid, no matter how young or how old you are, to plot a new course and seek to reach a new destination. And finally, remember to press on the bridge when you get tired and there's no fuel left in your tank, and you've pushed as far as you can push. Remember to pray until something happens. I believe as we do this, we become closer to being the people that God is calling